Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new Malicious compliance content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, Snow Shoveling Dramas. I am reminded of a story that happened while I was living at home. You may enjoy it. On mobile and names have been forgotten, so I'm going to make them up. This happened in the late 90s, early 2000s for reference. My dad owned a snowblower. During the wicked weather this side of the Rockies, he would use his blower to take care of the sidewalks in front of everyone on both sides of our block. Most of the families on my block were either seniors, those with small families, or younger couples that inherited their dead relative's home. Everyone knew everyone, and they understood that my dad was doing this as a courtesy. He was in his 50s and just trying to be a good neighbor. So my neighbors 2 doors down divorce and sell their house to a family from out of state. Fake name time, Picard sounds good. I know they were from a snowy state, but I don't remember where. They moved in during the late summer, close to the start of the school year. A couple months later, our state has a massive snowstorm. It would snow for nearly 24 hours for almost the entire winter. You would shovel and clear snow just to get another dump, and you'd have to keep going and going. We had something like 350% of average snowfall that month alone. So my dad is out there during the first big dump with his snowblower, just taking care of business as he's nice, and the third house down had an occupant that walked on arm crutches. He just made a path from our house to theirs. No big deal. Been taking care of this for a while now. He gets done and heads to work. He gets home late most nights, so he's not expecting anyone to be at the door as he walks in. Lo and behold, the Picards must have been watching out the window for him as they walk up on him as he opens the door. Hey, did you shovel our walk? Ha, our walk. The one that runs in front of our house. Oh yeah, I did your sidewalk. Well, we're not paying you for the shoddy work you did. You sprayed our tree with snow. My dad is out of it after a 10+ hour day, commute not included, so he's not getting what's happening. I'm sorry, you should be. That tree is too small to handle that much snow blown on it. You need to blow it somewhere else. As my dad was one that religiously reads city bylaws, he knew the time frame for removing snow and where you could put shoveled snow. The city doesn't allow you to blow snow into the street, cause it messes with the plausibility to take care of the streets. But Mr. Picard insisted that he had to blow the snow elsewhere. Knowing what he knew, my dad directed the snow into the only other spot available, his driveway. A driveway that is almost 4 to 5 degrees down from the carport too, or so it seemed, wicked steep either way. So the next day the neighbor comes by to complain again. He didn't know that a small snowfall can get cars stuck in that driveway, let alone what we had plus a snowblower. His car got stuck halfway in the street, and he had to get it towed out. If my dad were home, he could have saved them the tow fee, but Picard didn't know that. So Picard is fuming and saying he's going to do his own walk from now on. My dad tries to tell him he's just assisting the neighbor on the other side, and he doesn't charge for being a good neighbor, etc. It's cold and my dad wants the door shut, but Picard doesn't want to step in and my dad doesn't have his shoes or coat. So Picard just says, I know what I'm doing. I'm a grown man. I can deal with a little fluff. The next day, my dad knocks on the neighbor's door and tries to tell Picard about how strict the city is about snow removal, and how he has 24 hours from the start of snowfall to get things removed, etc. He wrote down a website where he can go to read the rules, but Picard didn't take it. The city was constantly driving down our block for reasons I won't go into here. The Picards were doing a semi-sufficient job manually shoveling snow away properly, but then, October in my state has a big teachers' conference, and most families go out of town for a late camping or early hunting trip. So the Picards, they are gone for 4 days during the worst storm of the season. They hadn't arranged to have the walk shoveled, and the snow was piling so high, city inspectors came out. Parents and neighbors complained to the city that they couldn't walk down our street. It was obvious that the walks were being taken care of, so why not theirs? The city posted a 48-hour compliance notice, but it would be 72 before the Picards got back to town. The city charged them with hazardous conditions and failure to maintain property accessible to the public. On top of the labor fee to shovel a walk, it was like $350 easily. The city kept a watchful eye on the property for the rest of the winter for any issues from then on. Once the city has you on their radar, it's hard to be done with them. The cherry on top of the entire situation. There's a knock on the door in early November, same year. One of the Picard kids handed my sister an envelope and just walked away. We give it to my mom, and inside there's a note saying something like, "This is for the shoveling you did already." There was $100 bill inside. My family tried to return it, but they never answered the door. So we used it to take our large family out to our favorite buffet later that week. Thank you, Picards, for paying for a free service. We spent it well. Next one is titled, "The Mulch Didn't Keep This Weed Down." A while back I worked at a large hardware retailer. One spring afternoon a guy came up with 30 bags of mulch. All the bags were damaged with holes and tears. Ripped up bags weren't too uncommon, seeing as these things often got tossed around and manhandled. But for there to be 30 of them in one shot is pretty unrealistic. Usually it was 2-5 at a time. The store policy was to give 50% off of ripped bags so long as it was a good-sized tear. These bags didn't have large tears in them. In fact, it looked like someone just shoved some fingers into the bags to make them look damaged. And wouldn't you know, his fingers are really dirty. This wasn't my first rodeo, but policy is policy, so few people took advantage of it that the managers didn't care about a little loss from time to time on the mulch. This dude starts raising his voice about how they all look like crap over there, and these were some of the nicer ones on the pallet. He says he deserves a discount for the disappointment and waste of time. I can run up and his total comes to $100. I'm having a hard time getting a word in with this guy because he just won't shut up about the mulch and isn't giving me a chance to speak. I try to explain how the bags typically get damaged and the policy surrounding it, but just couldn't get it all out. Through it all, he says that he should get 10% off for his trouble. I let out a sharp exhale from my nose and smiled at him. Yeah, 10% off is perfectly fine. Next one is titled, "Not My Monies." A long time ago, in a mall not too far away, was a specialty retail store that was owned by the same company that has a popular card game and tabletop game. The year was just after the new millennium, and I worked as a grunt on the floor. I had come in early along with my store manager, AB for awesome boss, and awaiting the district manager, DM, for a store inspection. The DM shows up and looks around the store as I go to greet him like a normal customer since I have never met the man. I didn't know who he was. AB comes out the back and greets the man and introduces me to him as the DM. Walking around, you could feel the air of self-importance around this man. Nitpicking this and that, but nothing major. We had gotten these new inventory of sock monkeys. Cute 2 arms, 2 legs, and a tail in various sizes from keychain to about the size of a small child. The DM wanted the monkeys up front and visible as a push for sales, so my AB has me clear off the shelves and roll them right to the main windows where the DM started to position all the monkeys. He places the largest child-sized monkeys at the very top shelf, but they would not sit upright like he wanted to until he took the tail and placed it between the legs of the monkey. Yes, I know. I shoot a look to my AB, who just shakes his head and says nothing. DM finishes positioning all the monkeys and walks off with a proud look on his face. All right, make sure they stay that way and fill those spots as soon as they empty. I look up to see 4 child-sized monkeys with what looked to be erections, as the weight of the monkey put enough pressure that the tail, instead of hanging limply, also bad, stuck straight out. I fight back the laughter and the urge to fix them, as for the next hour these monkeys are in full view of the early morning shoppers. The DM finally leaves, and after about 20 more minutes, we figured he was gone, and my AB looks to me and breaks laughing. Of course, I join in shaking my head and ask, what was he thinking? AB says, "Please fix those monkeys before we get complaints. Also, did you bring your deck so we can demo the game?" And by demo, he meant sit down and play this popular card game because we had no customers and nothing to do in the store. I replied with yes. I've been wanting to try my new elf deck. Good times. Next one is titled, "You Want Me to Push the Pallet All the Way In?" Okay. Background. This happened earlier today at the grocery store that I work at. I work in the produce area, and when we are done with our boxes, we take them to the box crusher. And then when that is full, it has to be tied up and put on a pallet to be sent back on one of the trucks we get. We call this a bale for future reference. When I went down there to crush my boxes, the machine was full, so I had to empty it. Me and a couple other coworkers finished tying up the bale, and I grabbed the electric-powered pallet jack, since it's easier to use for something as heavy as a bale, and pick up the bale to put it on the truck. Now, since it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, the store is busy as hell, And because of this, there were some grocery pallets on the truck still. Most were on the right side, but there was still one pallet on the left, the side I was putting the bale on. One of the people who helped me tie the bale, we'll call him Tim, says to put it in front of the pallet on the left and he'll deal with it later. I say okay and put it there. Now another guy, we'll call him Derek, comes up to me after I put this bale on the truck and says that I can't put it there since it's blocking the one pallets of stuff and that I need to take the bale back off, move the grocery stuff out, and then put the bale back on again. I tell him that Tim said to do it like that, and he basically says that he doesn't care and that I need to redo it. A little annoying, but whatever. I start to rearrange things to his liking while using the electric power jack. He asks if I've been certified to operate the power jack. You need to be certified to be allowed to use it. And I say in a very passive-aggressive manner, yes, I have been, thank you. Now I move the things around and I'm putting the bale back in the truck on the left. I try to go the whole way down, but I can't. Some product on a pallet on the right is leaning over a bit, which wouldn't be an issue by itself normally. But there were pallets against the left wall of the trailer, so there was barely not enough room to go all the way back. If I try to force it, then something will fall over and be more annoying to deal with, and I know this. I think to myself, well, it's only like 2 pallet spaces to go. It should be fine where it is now. But apparently Derek didn't think that way. Him, he just gonna leave it there. Me, yeah. Him, don't just leave it there. Push it all the way back. Me, you want me to push it all the way back? Him, aggressively. Yes, push it back. Me, okay. I lift the bale up, and without any regard for what will happen, I push it the rest of the way in with the power jack. The pallets on the wall get knocked down and pushed back, so now they can't get them if needed. Derek comes up to me and says, now see, that's what I didn't want to happen. I look at him and say, I just did what you asked me to do. You wanted me to push it in, I pushed it in. He gets visibly angry and says something that I didn't listen to because I just walked away to finish crushing my boxes. As I finish my boxes and I see him taking the bale out and stacking the pallets on top of it. He looks at me and says, would that have been so hard? I say back to him, you told me to push it in, not take it out and stack pallets on it. I did exactly what you asked me to do. I don't know why you're so angry. After that, he just walks away in a clearly angry mood, and I walk back to my area grinning. At it, forgot to mention that I was about to tell Derek why I didn't put the bale all the way back until he told me aggressively to push it back. If he had just stayed calm, the whole thing could have been avoided. At it too, to add a little more context, Derek is technically above me, but in a different department, so he's kind of my boss, but not really. That's why I listen to him over Tim. Also, Tim isn't equal to me in that department, but I work with him way more often than I do with Derek, which is why I trusted his judgment to just throw the bale on the truck to begin with. Tim left the back room after he told me to put the bale on the truck, so he wasn't there to tell Derek that he'll get it. Though I don't think that would have made a huge difference. Last one is titled, Neighbors Read Their Contract. This is a story from a year ago involving my neighbors. Thought it was worth a share. My neighbors were selling their house and had been screwed left and right by the buyers. For background, neighbor learned he was being relocated to another city. Partner and him started working out the details, and their house went on the market and was quickly closed with a deal pending. If you've never bought a house before, closing can take between 45 and 60 days with things like inspections, necessary repairs, etc. So they started down the process. Their buyers came off sweet but quickly turned sour. The people they hired to inspect my neighbor's house were family members, and they came away with a huge sheet of things to be repaired or to knock down the price. Many of those repairs they demanded be fixed at my neighbor's expense by a different contractor, despite the fact that my neighbor is a contractor himself. Then they started sending people to house unannounced, totally illegal, and showing up to the property on their own, trespassing. The nail in the coffin was that my neighbors had been strung along for a full 10 days longer than they should have been because the buyers kept threatening to back out of the sale, despite having already signed paperwork without their knowledge. All very muddy. As part of the contract, the buyers said that needed to take all personal property and all debris, claiming a financial penalty for cleanup if there was anything on the property that the buyers thought counted. So my neighbors had spent a lot of time cleaning out yard debris, multiple dump runs, etc. But as the purchase was almost finalized and all this shitty stuff was happening, they had an idea. While one is a contractor, the other works in legal and has for 10 years. She took to the contract and local home purchase regulations for the definition of personal property. Turns out that besides the obvious, light bulbs also count. They went through and removed every light bulb they could find, except ones that were installed as part of fixtures. The sellers had to purchase nearly $200 worth of light bulbs as part of their move-in, which they did not discover until they showed up with moving trucks. Thanks for listening.